Happy Friday to you, TGIF. Welcome to the 4 to 5. I'm Chet Silber. Tim Buckley is here today. Lauren Coleman is here today. And we are all about weather today.
Yes, big story. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, and everything has been fine so far today, but we expected it to be fine up until this point. Everything's still on track for what could be kind of a rough evening across the area. So here's what we're looking at. As of right now, nothing on your local radar. Everything is in pretty good shape right now. But as we see, there are some showers and storms moving their way toward the North Carolina mountains, and it's plain as day. When you look at the wide view, this is a nasty line of weather that's moving through Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. It has already been putting power out for hundreds of thousands of people in Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia. Right now, it's starting to approach North Carolina, and there are a couple of warnings on this. This is over near Cherokee. They have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, big winds and big storms. That's what's been happening over that way. A tornado watch is up for the North Carolina mountains right now. That's not for us, of course, but I do think they will extend it in our area in a couple of hours, so we'll pass that along to you. We have these severe weather risks that we talk about when it comes to this kind of weather. It's on a 5-point scale. Our area, half of it is in a 1 out of 5, Greensboro East, and Greensboro West is at a 2 out of 5. That means the storms are likely to be a little bit worse as you go farther toward the west, which is closer to the storm center. It is a bizarre temperature map today, though. 40s to the north, 70s to the south. We are in the middle, aren't we? And that could actually make some of the storms a little bit more powerful. Let's get you the timing. 6 p.m. here, that's when we start to see the showers and storms in the foothills. Across much of the triad, 7, 8, and 9 o'clock is when it should be at its worst. This line could be bringing in not only gusty winds of 30 to 40 miles per hour or higher, but there is also a low tornado risk for parts of our area too. So we'll want to be very carefully watching that for you. We'll be on the radar watching and be here with any warnings if need be. Wind gusts, as I said, all of us are going to have those gusty winds of 30 to 40 miles per hour, but the storms themselves are the parts that we'll have to watch for maybe some higher wind gusts. For tomorrow, the good news, your weekend is in great shape. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday all have sunshine and temperatures that are warming up. In the meantime, right now, I would go ahead and charge up your phones and devices just in case you lose power. Make sure to stay with us the next couple of hours for updates.
Tim, thanks. Since our weather team is rated the most accurate in the triad year after year, it's an obvious choice to make us your go-to resource. Our app is the best way to stay weather aware and get weather alerts when necessary. A big story we are following this afternoon, new details related to the arrest of a now former Page High School teacher and coach accused of sex crimes involving students. You'll remember police arrested Mark Johnson Jr. last week. During a court appearance this week, the DA said Johnson previously worked for the district and someone made a report of inappropriate conduct against him in 2019. Well, today, Guilford County Schools released where he previously worked. From 2017 to 2018, he was a substitute at various schools. From 2018 to 2019, he taught at Allen J. Elementary. After that, Johnson left the district. Around the same time, the DA says someone reported an allegation. We don't know much more about that allegation, but we do know there were not any criminal charges filed. Now, because Johnson didn't have any charges or any convictions, Guilford County Schools says he passed a background check and was rehired as a teacher and coach at Page last summer. Meantime, Johnson is in jail under a $1 million bond. He's accused of having sex with a student at Page and inappropriate relationships with others.
The sentence heard around the country today. The Murdaugh murder trials have captivated our nation's attention for the past few weeks. Today, disgraced attorney Alex Murdaugh learned his fate. Let's rewind.
Alex Murdaugh's fate was sealed this morning in South Carolina when the judge sentenced him to life in prison without parole.
For the murder of Paul Murdaugh, whom you probably love so much, I sentence you to prison for murdering him for the rest of your natural life.
This comes less than 24 hours after a South Carolina jury took just 3 hours to convict him of murdering his wife and 22-year-old son.
Guilty, verdict. Verdict, guilty. Verdict, guilty.
Murdaugh also faces multiple charges for alleged financial crimes, some of which he admitted to during the trial.
And before the trial, Murdaugh caught the attention of investigators for a slew of other crimes around small-town Hampton, South Carolina. The nation watched years' worth of investigation unfold on the recently released Netflix and HBO Max documentaries. I honestly, until I saw this story today, I didn't even know that there were documentaries out there. Did you all?
I did. I actually watched the Netflix documentary this weekend. It's a 3-part series, and it really did a good way of piecing together the different corruption and different deaths that were tied to this Murdaugh family, and just to see how much power they had in such a small community and the privilege that this family had. It was really mind-blowing. I really think Netflix did a really good job of piecing everything together. I don't know if you're too familiar with the boating accident that Paul Murdaugh was involved in. They were able to interview different children that were also on the boat with him at the time. It really just did a good job of doing the backstory of this family leading up to the current deaths of the mother and the son.
Have you seen it?
No, I didn't even know much about it, to be honest with you. It's kind of interesting to me how sometimes you get the one particular local case that the whole country gets interested in, whatever it might be. In this case, it was this one, and every couple of years you have a different one. But it seems like everybody's talking about it, has an opinion for sure.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about it. I know Eric, he's not here today, but he's been following a podcast on the family for the last couple weeks. And then some of our producers who used to work in Augusta and different places closer to South Carolina, they've been covering it for the last couple of years. Some of the crimes that are involved with this family.
Big story.
Yeah, interesting.
All right, so let's get to some of your other headlines with your 4 to 5 roundup. 4 teens were arrested after crashing into a police cruiser and leading police on a chase. Winston-Salem police noticed a stolen car just after 6 a.m. in the 2900 block of New Walkertown Road. After trying to pull the car over, the driver crashed into the police car and left the scene. Officers then chased the car through the city and into Kernersville. They were able to stop the car and arrest the 4 teens. No one was injured. The teens will be charged, but there is no bond or court date information just yet.
Someone shot and killed a 62-year-old man last night on Peterson Avenue in Winston-Salem. Robert Penix died in the shooting. Police haven't said who's responsible or whether they know of a motive. We'll keep you posted. We now know what caused the sudden pause on demolition of the old Guilford County Jail. The county says it ended its relationship with the original contractor but didn't elaborate. The next step is to find a new contractor to tear down the old jail that'll eventually lead to the building of a new sheriff's office. The timeline is already years behind schedule, partially because of the pandemic, and more than double its original budget. It's not clear how much longer it'll take.
As you know, the founding owner of the Carolina Panthers has died. Jerry Richardson's family says he died last night at his home in Charlotte. He was 86 years old. He founded the franchise in 1993 and owned the team until 2017. Richardson was born in North Carolina, grew up in Fayetteville area, and went to Wofford College in South Carolina. He stepped down in 2017 after several female Panthers employees accused him of sexual assault, as well as making racially insensitive remarks. He sold the franchise in 2018 to current owner David Tepper.
Former Panther Greg Olson tweeted a video honoring Richardson and what he did for the Olson family as their son battled a heart defect. Happening right now, it's For All Service Day. It's your chance to ask questions to a lawyer and get free legal information. There's a live picture of it right now. Tanya is at that call center this afternoon. She will tell you how you can take part. Next.
Yes, I'm going to give you a mic check, but I'm going to have Patty give you a mic check. Patty, what did you have for lunch today?
I have not had lunch today.
Oh, man, poor girl.
But Chick-fil-A would be really good at this moment.
Are you guys hearing her microphone? Okay, and you're hearing the guest mic as well, correct?
Melon. There is no. It's just that.
I know.
Yeah, so
Were
if
they hearing the,
you-
or is this the only mic that's on?
then the way
Oh, so I have to talk into this too?
dial
Okay,
in action.
okay. Usually I have one. what's about to happen. And I'm like, I have an IFBN.
Yes, that's right. I mean, typically to get a quarter.
How many seconds is that? 3-second delay. Okay.
Tanya normally joins us here at the table on the 4 to 5, but today she's out and about.
Tanya, this is something that you have been talking about all week.
Yes, and it is finally here. This is For All Service Day. Finally here. We've been talking about it all week long. We want to make sure that you have the information that you need. So the number to call is at the bottom of your screen. It's 336-355-6262. Where we are in Greensboro is where you see the Greensboro-based lawyers, although there are some that are answering from home as well. But this is happening all over the state. So we've got hundreds of lawyers who are volunteering their time. There's already been 4,000 calls. So Patty Ramser is with us right now. So when people think to themselves, really, do I need to call and talk to the lawyer? Maybe I should just try and figure this out by myself.
You should definitely call. It's easy to do, and we have individuals, attorneys who are manning the phones, and this is what they do day in and day out. And so you never know, and when you call, you can get some helpful information from somebody who does this.
And we're talking about anything and everything. We're talking about housing. We're talking about healthcare. We're talking about traffic tickets.
Absolutely. Employment, bankruptcy, criminal. Our attorneys have signed up by practice area so that they're getting questions that they're ready to answer. And so often we are hearing our attorneys provide information and answers to questions that people have, and then providing some extra that folks didn't necessarily expect or know they were going to get when they called.
Resources, names of documents that they might need, that kind of thing. So if you're at home and you're thinking to yourself, I do have a legal situation, but so-and-so went through this and I'll just do whatever they did, maybe you should think about it because laws change all the time, regulations change all the time.
Absolutely, and people's situation, each individual situation is different. And so when you can share just a little of that background with one of the attorneys and get some information, it's so helpful to kind of know next steps and what can I do and what are the resources that are available for me.
All right, and when we say that this is Greensboro-based attorneys, but it's happening statewide, we are talking about calls are coming in from all over and attorneys from all over.
Absolutely. I don't know if you've heard the numbers, but I think as of about 2 o'clock today in Greensboro and Winston-Salem, we had over 700 calls that had come in, and then throughout the state, the 7 call centers, I think there were already over 2,600 calls that had come in to the different call centers and virtually to our attorneys.
Right, and all of these attorneys, again, giving up their time so that anyone can call for free.
That's right, and it's important because so many people don't have access to an attorney to ask these questions. And so when we can help answer some questions and bridge that gap just a little in terms of the equal access to justice, that's really important for us to do as attorneys.
All right, thank you so much for your help. All right, remember that number, you can use it until 7 o'clock tonight.
Still in watching and waiting mode when it comes to the weather. You know, this is kind of how it works on days where we have a storm threat. We identify that time to kind of be ready. We're getting close to it once we head into 5 and 6 o'clock. But as of right now, still no problems across our local Triad area. Temperatures are so different from place to place. I'll show you the map in just a second. But as we look locally, there really aren't even any rain showers at the moment. They are starting to move their way into the North Carolina mountains. And there are some problems as well. I was just checking the power map in Tennessee. They've got a couple 100,000 people without power. So it's been a bad storm, and that same line is trying to head our way. Right now, severe thunderstorm warning over toward the Asheville area, and that's kind of what we'll be watching with this line as it gets closer, is a big push of gusty winds for all of us ahead of it. And then within that line, there could be a couple storms that get a little bit stronger, and we might have some warnings on those. Bottom line, here's your futurecast. It's around 6 o'clock this evening. Notice how it's a line moving our way, but it does weaken a little bit. Some of the cool air we've held on to could be helping us out, especially since it's coming after sunset. So you're going to lose some of the heating too. The main timing for us is between 7, 8, and 9 o'clock. There is a tornado risk, but it's not a high one. It's a low risk. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's very possible we could see a tornado watch issued for the whole area in just a couple of hours. We'll let you know when that happens. But the main thing all of us need to watch for will be those high winds, 30, 40 mile per hour gusts. Secure those outdoor objects. I stacked my lawn furniture at home. Otherwise, it would be across the street. That kind of thing is a good thing to do right now before those winds really start to kick up. The good news is once we get toward tomorrow, everything is in good shape. Sunshine, beautiful weather for Saturday. We'll keep this around for the weekend as well. But main advice for you over the next little bit, make sure have your things charged up in case you were to lose power with these storms, and just kind of keep an eye on us. We will certainly be keeping you updated, and if there ever was to be a tornado warning, we go on air and we stay on until it's over.
Today is World Birth Defects Day. It's a day to raise awareness of birth defects, their cause and impact around the world. Dr. Joseph Stringfellow is an OBGYN with Novant Health. He says maternal nutrition is linked to birth defects. Folic acid is one of the most important supplements a pregnant patient can consume prior to and during pregnancy.
It has multiple functions in the body, but the key function in pregnancy is it helps with healthy development of the central nervous system. So a deficiency of folic acid can have devastating effects on the development of the pregnancy and the fetus.
Folic acid is the synthetic form of vitamin B9 or folate. Dr. Stringfellow says pregnant women or those looking to get pregnant should consume at least 600 micrograms every 24 hours. In most developing countries, including the United States, a portion of that comes from grains like breads and cereals.
And that usually comes to about 200 micrograms of the recommended daily requirement for folate. So we usually recommend at least 400 micrograms as an additional supplement leading up to and during pregnancy.
Dr. Stringfellow says many U.S. women, particularly minorities, are not getting enough of the vitamin. He says access and proper awareness are both contributing factors.
We actually recommend starting folate supplementation at least 3 months before even conceiving. And so without that counseling, there are any number of people that don't realize how important it is to already have adequate folate before you even become pregnant.
Some women may require more folic acid based on their medications they take, medical history, or certain illnesses like sickle cell anemia. Dr. Stringfellow recommends women speak with their doctor about proper intake if they do plan to get pregnant. This week is National Eating Disorders Week. Eating disorders can affect Americans of all ages, backgrounds, and genders. It's estimated over 28 million Americans will experience an eating disorder at some point in their lives, with anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating disorder being the most common. While eating disorders are more common in females, it's estimated about 10 million males have eating disorders. We will have more information on this in our Dig Into It section coming up at 5:30, so stay tuned to that. Eating disorders, yeah, it impacts a lot of people. The reading and research that I've been doing, it says that it's the second most fatal mental illness, and that opioid use just is above that. Wow. So a lot of people are impacted by it.
And I think a lot of people, including myself, have been under like the misconception that it just affects women. But I mean, you just said it, 10 million males. I mean, it's alarming that so many people are dealing with eating disorders.
And I think the biggest thing when it comes to having an awareness week like this is knowing the signs and the tools and even the proper way of approaching someone that you think might be struggling with something of this nature. There is a hotline, and there's also a free online tool where you can see if you or someone you love is at risk. So there are a lot of free resources out there.
A few years ago, one of my best friends who lives out of state confessed to me that she had an eating disorder, and it was so hard for her to say it, but it was also hard for me to know that it was so hard for her to say it. I mean, it's something that people tend to hide.
Absolutely.
And so if you are able to just tell one person, you know, sometimes the support system is really what you need.
Yeah, it's definitely a closeted issue that a lot of people deal with. I've had older adults tell me that they struggled with it at one point. I think one of the reasons some people fall victim to it is it's a sense of control in some way. It's something that they have control of in their life, that they feel, but it's not a healthy thing to do. So it's glad that we have these resources out there. And again, 5:30, dig into it. We're going to get more into that. We'll be right back.
Today on U Day, we meet women's rights activist Sojourner Truth. Coach Lamont says her statement on the power of truth will work as an agent to dispel any lie we try to convince ourselves.
Women's rights activist Sojourner Truth once said, "Truth is powerful and it prevails. You are only as powerful as the truth you convince yourself. If that truth is a lie, then the lie you presume to be truth will guide you down paths of unintended results. Truth is intended to forge you forward to a place where only prevailing exists. Time will reveal what you truly believe about you, and you must be willing to find the strength to combat what simply may not be prospering you. It's time to eliminate whatever has been holding you back and remind yourself that you are what you are created to become, that winner within. And losing is no longer an option. It is written that the truth shall set you free. Don't you think it's time to find that truth? I do. This is Coach Lamont. Make today your best U Day. I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, Michaela, how you doing? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Michaela? Can you hear me, Michaela? All right. Hey, I can hear myself. I just want y'all to know that I can hear myself in my headphones. Okay. Mic check, Michaela, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is better. I do not hear anything. I do not hear myself, so that's cool.
TGIF.
What does that spell?
Take a
It's Friday and we're excited.
Absolutely. Welcome back to 4 to 5. I'm Chad Silver here with Tim Buckley and Lauren Coleman. Weather, the highlight today.
But is the weather going to impact our weekend plans? That's what we want to know.
Right, so we can answer both questions. The weekend's fine, but this evening you want to pay attention, okay? You can't just be going out and about normally. Got to kind of stay in tune. So you're already doing a good thing by watching us. And we're going to keep you informed. Let's show you what we have going on right now. It looks pretty spooky, of course, across Greensboro. Take a look at that dark cloud. All of the action you're seeing right now is actually not a problem. We don't have any strong or severe storms in the area currently, but later on, especially I'm thinking between 6 p.m. and around 10, that's when we want to pay more closely attention to the forecast. Right now, everything is high and dry here locally, but North Carolina mountains are getting it pretty good at the moment. This is Asheville right here. There's a severe thunderstorm warning just to their west, and this is just an example of what we could be seeing in a couple of hours. There is this line, and you can see it pretty clearly. It's been moving across Tennessee and Alabama and Georgia throughout the day. A couple 100,000 people are without power over there, so I think we want to take this pretty seriously. One thing that could help us out, I mentioned this the last couple of days, we have some cool air. Areas that are cooler might have a lower chance of getting the high winds, but we also have spots in the 70s right now too. High winds are pushing in already. They're not bad yet, but that's just a sign that things are happening. I think when this line of storms arrives between 6, 7, and 8 p.m., all of us will have gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour. But some of us will have higher gusts in some of those storms that get a little bit stronger. Now, the bigger risk of a tornado would be in the west. That's opposite of what we usually see, but that's the way the storm is shaking out for today. The risk of tornadoes in much of the Triad is pretty low because that line is weakening as it gets closer to us. I mentioned the wind gusts. Well, let's put some numbers on that, shall we? You can see about 35 to 45 mile per hour gusts would be what we would expect around 7, 8 p.m. this evening, and they will linger a little bit, so it's still breezy when you're going to bed around midnight tonight. Now tomorrow, it's a breezy day, but that's not a problem. We'll be fine. Lots of sun, everything's good. 40s in the morning, 60s for the afternoon, and we will keep that nice weather around for the rest of the weekend. What I want you to do is just keep on checking back with us the next couple of hours. We'll have lots of radar updates for you.
Tim, thanks. Since our weather team is rated the most accurate in the Triad year after year, it's an obvious choice to make us your go-to resource. Our app is the best way to stay weather aware and get weather alerts when necessary. Another big story today. It's day 3 of the women's ACC tournament in Greensboro, and we are getting closer to naming a champion. There's excitement on the hardwood, obviously, but also off the court. WFMY News 2's Jalen Gilkey met some local artists putting on quite the show for fans at the Coliseum. Hey, Jalen.
Yeah, Chad, of course the ACC tournament is all about the action that takes place on the basketball court, but there's still plenty to see and do here at the Coliseum off the court. That includes all the festivities taking place here at FanFest. Earlier today, I met a young lady who's a former basketball player turned painter, inspiring the next generation of artists and creating some beautiful basketball art in the process.
Kids are awesome, right? Like, kids are great. They, not only they're really interested in understanding the process behind what the heck I'm doing, like all of them, I know they know that she's painting basketballs, but they love to walk up and ask, what are you doing? And then that's when I like to show them what I'm doing. So I had a couple of them help me splatter paint some of the basketballs.
This was, man, it was one of those dream come true bucket list type things. So I'm super excited to be here. The people, like I said, the Southern hospitality, the networking, the, hey, you should check out this place and this place to eat. So the people, Greensboro has some good people here.
And we've still got 2 games left on the evening, but if you're going to make it to the first one, you better hurry because it's possibly the biggest matchup of the week as Duke and UNC match up at 6 p.m. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Jalen, I'm still waiting on my swag bag. The men's tournament will kick off here next week. Following the women's, tickets are still available online for purchase.
And since there will be games the next several days, you can count on traffic issues. More traffic around the Coliseum, really anywhere in that area of Greensboro. A good reminder to plan ahead if you're driving through the area. And it will only get worse next week when the men's tournament is here. I kind of just try to, unless I'm going to a game, I just try to avoid that whole area of town.
Yeah, just don't go downtown because you're going to be upset unless you're participating in the activities.
But be nice to all of our out-of-town visitors
Absolutely.
That'll be around. It's been a couple years since we had the big tournament here.
Yep. And Tim, I know that I imagine you like when other Syracuse fans come down to Greensboro, so you're not the only one here.
I do. I'm going to wear my orange.
You're going to wear your orange?
How do you think that's going to work out?
We'll see.
I'm hoping they don't play a North Carolina school because I want to be friends with everybody.
Absolutely.
We'll see what happens. But if you're there on Wednesday, say hello. Maybe I'll see you. It's going to be a fun time.
Oh, are you going to the game?
I took a day off.
Oh, nice. So you're going all out. Are you going to go to the FanFest activities because it's going to be back next week for everybody to?
In the watching basketball mode.
Okay.
In the arena.
Is it strange thinking that you bought tickets, but you have no idea who's playing?
Correct. I'm hoping that it'll be who I want to see play.
In your dream world,
yeah.
Who would you want to see play?
I want to see Syracuse win the whole deal.
Okay.
The whole shebang. But he doesn't want to see them have to beat a North Carolina.
I know, that's
team,
how I'm
right?
like, I was getting you to say that.
I gotta be a politician here. I want everyone to be happy.
He wants everyone to just do a good job.
Yeah,
That's
big game tomorrow too, Duke and UNC.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I root for in the men's tournament every year. Women too, is having another Duke-Carolina game.
State's good this year too. State and UNC has been a good matchup as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I like having it here.
Yes, absolutely. I agree 100% with that. All right, we've got comprehensive coverage of the tournament this week on our website. Count on us to do the same for the men's tournament next week.
High Point University's basketball team is seeing some changes to its coaching staff. The school's athletic director, Dan Hauser, and Gigi Smith have mutually agreed to a change in the head coach leadership of the men's basketball program. Smith joined the staff back in 2018. In 2022, he was announced as the 13th head men's basketball coach in school history. He compiled an overall record of 14-17 and a 16-13 record in Big South Conference play. The change will take place immediately. The Burlington Sock Puppets broke ground on their entertainment venue this morning despite the dreary weather. The new addition will be there 3 tiers along the first baseline of the Burlington Athletic Stadium. The entertainment venue is set to be active year-round outside of the team's June to August season. It will be available for rentals and hosting events. The Sock Puppets general manager says their goal is to provide a fun and high-value experience for anyone coming to Sockville. They say the structure will allow them to do just that.
There's some big improvements at the North Wilkesboro Speedway ahead of the much anticipated NASCAR All-Star Weekend. Redbird 2, you can see, got a closer look at the progress. It's been close to 27 years since NASCAR last ran a race at that speedway. All-Star Weekend kicks off May 19th. We already know of entertainment plans and tickets are on sale. We'll keep you in the loop as we get new details.
In the Capitol today, retired Army Colonel Paris Davis, one of the first black officers in the Green Berets, received the nation's highest military honor Friday during a ceremony at the White House.
A Vietnam War veteran finally gets acknowledged for his heroic deeds. Retired Colonel Paris Davis received the Medal of Honor during a White House ceremony more than half a century overdue.
It may be the most consequential day since I've been president. He's an incredible man.
On June 18, 1965, during the Battle of Bang Son in Vietnam, Davis was hit by a grenade and gunfire, but still risked his own life to save the lives of 2 of his soldiers. And he then ignored an order to retreat in order to save the life of a 3rd.
Captain Davis' commander gave him a direct order, get on board. Davis' response was just as direct. Sir, he said, I'm just not going to leave. I still have an American out there.
Though Colonel Davis joined the U.S. Army just 14 years after President Harry Truman desegregated the U.S. military, the racism that he faced would force him to wait nearly 6 decades before receiving the nation's highest military honor.
Volunteering to serve a country that in many places still refused to serve people who look like him.
Davis's commanding officer, Billy Cole, immediately nominated him for the Medal of Honor. But the records mysteriously vanished not once, but twice. A 1969 military review did not reveal any file on Davis.
But you know what Captain Davis said after learning he would finally receive the Medal of Honor? Quote, America was behind me. He never lost faith, which I find astounding.
Davis is now one of just 65 Americans still alive to receive the honor. An honor that he says he shares with his Special Forces soldiers. Willie James Inman, CBS News, the White House.
It is mind-boggling and so upsetting that someone who was such a hero had to wait so long to get that medal simply because he was black.
Yes. But what a beautiful day it is for him and his family to be able to celebrate his hard work. It's just such a great honor, so I'm glad he was able to live to see that day.
Yeah, at the end there, you can kind of see read the emotion on his face. He seemed really gratified, and probably like a lot of you come from a military family. Don't they tend to kind of deflect attention and praise? And it kind of seemed like he was happy to be receiving the award, certainly, but he probably would commend all of his other.
Yeah, felt humbled because you know this is what they signed up to do, to protect and to serve. But
amazing.
You know, job well done to him, and I'm just very happy for his family that they were able to be here with him today to celebrate that.
I was happy that he was able to be there today,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and not receive it posthumously. As they said in the story, there were only 65 of them left.
Holy.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say in the nick of time, but I mean, I'm glad that they were able to do it now.
A lot of history.
Yeah.
Beautiful story.
All right, happening right now, it is For All Service Day. It's your chance to ask questions to a lawyer and get free legal information. This is a live picture at the phone bank right now. Look at, she would just love to talk to you about something legal, right? Tanya is at the call center this afternoon. She will tell you how to take part next. The divorce rate in the U.S. is no longer increasing in most groups, but experts say couples over 50 are now seeing a phenomenon called the gray divorce. Let's connect the dots.
Marriages are ending, and people are looking to stay single. Let's connect the dots. Back in 1990, fewer than 1 in 10 folks who got divorced were 50 or older. Now, it's 1 in 4. Researchers at Bowling Green State found within a decade of their divorce, most older Americans remained single. And they say women are more likely to stay single after divorce compared to men. Experts note older women do better than men at living alone, saying they're more satisfied with the number of friends they have, their hobbies, and the time they spend with family. Researchers couldn't find a big reason why so many folks stay single after divorce. But they say economic resources, social ties, and health aren't big factors. However, researchers say some folks just don't want to get remarried no matter who's out there. And that is connecting the dots.
I was going to say I'm not surprised by this because a lot of people who I know who are divorced have said the same thing. They don't plan to get remarried. And I think a lot of it has to do with just the fallout of divorce, especially a lot of financial things. Not saying they don't plan to be in a relationship again, but some of them end up just having life partners because they just don't want to have to deal with all that goes into a marriage, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people who get divorced, now this is speaking from someone who has never been married, it's kind of like weddings and marriage is kind of tainted depending on how badly
left a bad taste in their mouth.
The divorce happened. And so they're just like, no more.
And then I also think it plays on how old in life or how young in life you got married. Certainly if you got married in your early 20s and you got a divorce, maybe you'll get married again. Or say you were married for like 30+ years, you might just not see the need to get married again after that.
But this was saying some people are better suited to stay single. Was it saying women do a better job at that than men?
I don't know if they're better suited, but it's happening more often.
It's happening more often.
Or they're more happy.
For some reason.
Yeah, and there's a lot of studies with, I took sociology of the family when I was in college. A lot of times some women are just better off single. Like men kind of 100% benefit when they get married to some extent, but women don't always benefit, so they're better off alone.
We need someone,
help,
right?
help. That's funny. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if I were to get married and get divorced, if I would want to get married again. I think it would probably just depend on on the way that it played out.
Yeah, I think it's each individual person has their differences. I know a lot of people who were divorced at one time and got remarried. Maybe they just didn't have the whole wedding. They did like a intimate ceremony, you know, with their person. But it doesn't surprise me that some people just don't plan to get married again.
Yeah, me either.
All right, well, on a brighter note, we can go to love instead of, lack of love. A few weeks ago, I asked you on Facebook, what was the worst date you've been on? So today I asked you about your best date or what makes for a good date. Lisa Lawson says definitely good conversations, laughs, and some old music, maybe even the electric slide. Hey. Julie Luck wrote laughter, comfortability, and respect. Anthony Ashton says being truthful, communicating, and of course, good food, just let it happen. And then Edward Schmidt wrote, not really a date. Oldest teenage daughter went to a baby shower. A single woman my age brought her home. Woman and I got to talking. I've never felt more comfortable. Ended up ordering a pizza and talking till dawn. I absolutely love that. I think that's what makes for a great date, when the conversation just gets flowing. I know a couple years ago I went out with someone, we talked for like 5 hours. We just, and I felt like I knew them for so long, but I'm a talker, but he was also a talker too, because the worst is if you're in a situation and the person is not talking, and you're trying to drag it out of them, or the flip, it could be someone who just talks about themselves the whole time.
Sure.
And I'm like, the date is over, you haven't even asked me what I do for a living or like anything about myself, so that's not really great either.
My biggest fear is that because I'm a journalist, I will ask a lot of questions and it'll make it seem like I'm like digging.
You're interviewing them?
Yeah.
That is funny. Do you need to be doing something? Like, does there need to be an activity?
I like an
not?
activity. I think some of the best dates I have had involve some type of activity, whether it be bowling or going to an adult arcade of something of that nature, because you can make it fun. You can do bets in it. You kind of, it makes everything a little more comfortable, because if you do dinner, it could be a little too serious and the expectations are so high. So I think doing an activity or doing something light like coffee.
Lunch date?
Yeah.
Or a lunch date?
Yeah, I think that, because dinner just seems more, we're getting
formal.
steak and light. Yeah, more formal. I like something a little light in the beginning.
You know what else is a bad first date? I would say is a movie.
Oh, because there's no talking.
You're just sitting the whole time. You can't talk. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's awkward.
And then you go home afterwards. I mean, are you going to talk in the parking lot? Like, what's really going on?
Have you ever seen like I can't remember which movie it is, but somebody takes somebody else on a date. A man takes a woman on a date, and like the date is come to my private jet and we're gonna fly, and I'm gonna take you to an unknown place. And
is this what you're looking for?
I would be a little scared.
If
like
you have a private jet.
Would you get so
like
if someone said they had a private jet, first date, you hadn't really hung out with them before, would you get on that jet?
Yes.
Sure.
And they weren't a celebrity, they weren't anything.
Yes.
What's the worst that could happen?
A lot could happen. You might not return.
That's why I talk about the weather. We'll see you later.
We'll be right back.
Latest radar check for you. We are, of course, keeping an eye on the weather very carefully. Right here in the Triad, everything still on the quiet side, but we only have another hour or two before things really are ramping up. Already in the foothills, we're seeing some action start to plow in here. Look at Asheville, for example. They have a severe thunderstorm rolling right through the city at the moment. Could be bringing some wind gusts for them around 60 miles per hour. Again, that's in Asheville. That's not here right now. But in about 90 minutes to 2 hours, it'll be quite a different story. Is that line, which has been making progress across Tennessee, it will be in our neighborhood. We're still on track for about 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock in our area. Here are your severe weather risk levels, by the way. We're at a level 2 in the west, level 1 in the east. That's kind of just showing you the likelihood of how bad the weather could be getting. Tornado risk is a little bit lower than that, of course, too. Most of us in a low risk, but not zero. So we'll be keeping an eye on things, and we could have a tornado watch issue issued over the next couple of hours. Winds are already a little gusty. They'll get higher when this line of storms rolls through between 7, 8, and 9 o'clock. Wind gusts for everybody should be around 30 to 40 miles per hour. This is what our model is showing. If you're north, by the way, you might have a lower chance of these because it's been so cold up there. But 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts from Greensboro south are pretty darn likely. Here's the good news. We head into tomorrow. Once we get these storms out of here, we're in very good shape. Sunshine is back. Temperatures will be pretty comfortable for the weekend. You're around the 60s. A couple things you can still do right now before the storms arrive. Charge up the phone. Make sure you have it ready to go. Know where you would go if there was a warning for your area. Always good to have that safe spot in your home in mind. And also, if there are things that can fly around outside, make sure they don't do that. Secure them. Have that trampoline tied down. Those kind of things will help you out. Extended forecast will still be warm next Tuesday, but I'll warn you, winter is coming back. Late next week, we are going to start to get cold again, and some freezes are pretty likely. We'll be right back after this.
Tim, thank you. And why trust your safety to any other weather team when ours is rated the most accurate year after year? Count on our app to keep you informed during any type of severe weather.
She was just touched. Hey, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie, they forever go together like a classic combination.
Mic check, Brett. Mic check, Brett. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check, Brett. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Hello, it's me. Hello.
Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Brett. Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You look good in blue.
Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am on my way.
I'm at that point in life where not much shocks me anymore, but yesterday was a surprise. After a decade of debate, state leaders reached a deal to expand Medicaid. The move will give 600,000 more of our neighbors health care. Republicans and Democrats now agree this is the kind of transformative legislation that will make a real difference in our community. Research shows more people with health care coverage means less people dying. It also means low-income people will save money on hospital bills and have it for feeding their family and paying for a place to live. Look, even if you're not on Medicaid, it will impact you because research shows states that have expanded Medicaid saw a drop in violent crime. There is one more thing this piece of legislation does. It reminds us that compromise is possible. With the national headlines from D.C. full of partisan politics, North Carolina is starting to come together more and more, working across the aisle to help everyone who lives here. Now, don't get me wrong, there was still a lot of political infighting here, and it took a decade to get the Medicaid deal done. But at the end of the day, this is progress. That's my 2 cents. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts right now.
Right now, we're on top of possible severe weather headed our way. The radar pretty active with a line of storms building out west.
Our chief meteorologist, Tim Buckley, joins us live now. He is all over this forecast. Tim, it is getting closer and closer to the Piedmont Triad.
Yeah, that's right, guys. We are seeing some severe thunderstorms moving into the western part of North Carolina right now. It's a crazy temperature map at the moment. And all of you watching currently, you all have a different temperature in a big way. I'll show you to the north. It's in the